had fallen. The office building, bustling and lively during the day, was now engulfed in an eerie silence. Rows of empty desks sat motionless under the flickering light of fluorescent bulbs. Neon lights from outside reflected on the glass windows, casting ghostly streaks of light that seemed to hover and shift. The quiet was oppressive, as the sound of traffic outside gradually dwindled, giving way to the stillness of the night. Clara, a clerical worker, was still focused on her tasks on the second floor. A stack of files awaited her attention on the desk. The faint glow of a small desk lamp provided a tiny oasis of light in the vast sea of darkness around her. But something felt off. The air seemed thick, and each keystroke reverberated heavily, like it was being stifled by an unseen force. Clara tried to concentrate on her computer screen, but a peculiar sensation crept over her. It was as though something invisible was watching her from the shadows. She couldn't see it, but its presence was undeniable, sending chills rippling through her skin. The wall clock continued its steady ticking, the sound echoing as if from a distant void, each tick hammering into her consciousness, amplifying the unsettling stillness. Occasionally, she glanced around the room, her eyes sweeping over the vacant desks. Everything seemed normal, yet the unease only grew stronger. Out of the corner of her eye, Clara caught a glimpse of a shadow flitting past. Her heart sank as a sudden wave of fear washed over her. Slowly, she lifted her gaze toward the farthest corner of the room, where the light barely reached. In the dim haze, a figure stood silently, its back to her, unmoving. Clara squinted, her brow furrowing, her eyes fixed on the strange silhouette. She tried to dismiss it as a trick of the faint light or a figment of her tired imagination. But the figure was too vivid, too distinct to be ignored. Trying to calm herself, she forced her attention back to her work. However, her hands began to tremble uncontrollably, betraying the fear that gripped her. Every nerve in her body was taut, as if bracing for an imminent explosion. Unease spread through her, cold and piercing. And then, just as she thought she might shake off the dread, the shadow appeared again. This time, it was closer, standing among the empty rows of desks cloaked in darkness. Its presence was more pronounced, more defiant, as if daring her to confront it. Panic-stricken, Clara quickly turned on the overhead lights. The cold white light flooded the room, banishing every shadowy corner. Her eyes scanned the room frantically, searching for the dark figure she'd seen mere seconds before. Everything was unnervingly still. The decks and chairs remained in their usual places, untouched and silent. No trace, no person, nothing. She exhaled deeply, convincing herself it was just work-related stress playing tricks on her mind. Staying up late and staring at the screen for hours must have caused her to imagine such bizarre things. It must be exhaustion, she muttered to herself, deciding to step away from her desk for a moment to ease the tension. She left the office and headed toward the restroom at the end of the hallway. The dim hallway lights did little to comfort her, but she pressed on. The chill in the air and the oppressive silence were unnerving, each step echoing strangely as if someone was walking right behind her. When she reached the restroom, she opened the door and stepped inside. Her pale face stared back at her in the mirror, dark circles under her eyes betraying her sleepless nights. Splashing cold water on her face, she let the chill seep into her skin, hoping to clear her mind. Clara entered a stall, carefully closing the door behind her. She sat down, taking a deep breath in an attempt to calm the tightness in her chest. But instead of relief, an oppressive silence enveloped her, as if every sound had been swallowed by an invisible void. It wasn't a peaceful silence. It was heavy, suffocating, making each breath harder to take. But just as she was about to leave the stall, the sound of running water echoed from the sink outside. The steady trickling of water filled the eerie silence of the restroom. She froze, her eyes fixated on the closed door before her, as her heart began to race. She was certain she was alone. "Is someone out there?" Clara called out, her voice reverberating in the empty restroom. Only the sound of water answered her. She waited, hoping to hear footsteps or a reply, but there was none. The water continued to run, creating an odd rhythm as if an invisible hand was controlling the faucet. A chill ran down her spine. Trembling, Clara stood up, taking careful, deliberate steps toward the stall door. She tiptoed, trying to avoid making a sound, afraid that something unseen was waiting for her to lower her guard. Slowly, she turned the door handle. The faint creak of the door opening seemed to echo unnaturally loudly. Outside, the cold fluorescent lights reflected off the mirror. The sink stood in its usual place, but the faucet was still running. Yet, there wasn't a single soul in sight. "That's impossible," she whispered as she stepped out of the stall. She leaned over the sink, twisting the faucet tightly. The stream of water stopped immediately, and the unsettling trickling sound ceased. She stood there for a few moments, half expecting everything to return to normal. But in that instant, her reflection in the mirror was no longer hers. The face staring back at her in the mirror was not Clara's. Its eyes were hollow, dark voids devoid of any life. The face appeared blurry, ghostly pale, as though veiled in a thick mist. Its skin was taut and grotesquely distorted. The lips, unnaturally pale, curled into a sinister smile, a smile that didn't belong to her. Her fingers, icy and rigid, involuntarily backed away as her wide eyes stayed locked on the horrifying reflection. She tried to grasp reality, convincing herself it was a hallucination. Yet the smile in the mirror only grew wider, the distorted lips threatening to tear the face apart. And then, those black, hollow eyes blinked. A single drop of bright red blood appeared on the surface of the mirror, trailing downward like a haunted tear from a world beyond. Clara screamed, bolting out of the restroom. Her hands fumbled with the door, pushing it open as if her life depended on it. The hallway outside was still unnervingly quiet, but she couldn't linger a moment longer. She sprinted back to her desk, her heart pounding like it would burst out of her chest. Hastily, she grabbed her documents and laptop, her hands trembling as she shoved them into her bag. As she scrambled to leave, a peculiar sound broke through the silence, the faint creaking of a chair. The noise came from the far corner of the office, where an empty desk sat, belonging to an employee who had mysteriously gone missing months ago. Clara froze, her frightened eyes scanning the dimly lit room. The creaking continued, soft but unmistakable, as if someone unseen was shifting in the chair. She knew without a doubt where the sound was coming from. It was Haley's desk, the very spot where her missing coworker had last been seen. Since Haley's disappearance, rumors had spread throughout the office, leaving everyone unsettled. Some believed she had died, though no one had the evidence or courage to confirm the truth. The mystery of Haley lingered like a phantom, and each time her name was whispered, the air in the office grew heavier and colder.